Find the word for the weekend. So.
Yeah. It wasn't, I was gonna say it wasn't working.
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 18th, 2024 meeting for the Manhattan Community Board 11 Human Services Committee. My name is Isaac Scott and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:02. All right, 6:02 p.m. I got hands. Thank you. Okay, in order to conduct an efficient meeting, I actually, I have the ground rules here, Marlene, thanks.
No problem.
I'm reading, I appreciate you. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic. On topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Thank you. So now we'll do a roll call. Board members, when you hear your name, please respond by saying present.
Mark Roberski.
Present.
Marcel Voldima. Rosa Diaz. Present. Arlise Foster Hernandez. Present. Jennifer Myers excused for this meeting. Valerie Ponte. Asher Rodriguez.
Present.
Isaac Scott.
Present.
Robin Strachan.
Present.
And Alida Chichenboom. You have a quorum, Isaac.
All right, thank you. Okay, so first thing on the agenda are announcements. Does anyone have any announcements to make? Right. Oh, I need agenda or meeting minutes. Yeah, I'm speeding. Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy
Monday.
Monday.
Cool. Okay, so the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there are no objections to the agenda, we will adopt the agenda as it is. Board members, if you do object, raise your hand. Same with the meeting minutes. They were sent out. Actually, a template of the meeting minutes was sent out. If you have any objections to the meeting minutes from last meeting, please raise your hand. I recognize you.
Wait.
Yep.
Sorry to just be a stickler.
No.
There are no minutes.
So because of that?
Yeah.
Great.
That's
Okay,
just a
good.
template, right?
Good. So I don't even need
There
to
won't
say.
be a vote.
Okay, so we can approve those minutes. We would have to do that at the next meeting. I got it. So we won't have that issue again for that. I was wondering about that in the past.
Yeah.
Great, perfect. So there are no meeting minutes to ratify at this meeting. Next meeting in December, we'll ratify October and November's meeting minutes. Thank you very much, Molly. That's just like a public declaration of me not doing what I was supposed to do. But that's accountability. Now we have it on record. So, yes, let that be a lesson, cheers. Okay. I can just imagine, Andrew in the other room. All right, so let's move on to the announcements. Are there any announcements, that anyone would like to, bring before the community? Any announcements from any board members, any events going on that we should know about? Anybody giving out turkeys, Thanksgiving coming up, anything like that? No? We ain't doing that, just chilling.
Well, maybe, no,
Please?
an announcement, if anyone is in need of a turkey, please let me know. We might be able to support you. The East Harlem Community Partnership is giving out turkeys, in collaboration with Union Settlement. Please let me know if you are in need of a turkey. And another announcement, yeah.
Please.
Okay. The Chancellor of New York City Public Schools is doing a listening tour It starts tomorrow in Manhattan. And the school is High School of Graphic Communication Arts, located at 439 West 49th Street, New York, New York, 119, from 6 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. No RSVP required, but you are able to go to the DOE website and actually RSVP and let her know that you're coming to say hi or any questions that you might have with regards to your children.
That's it? Okay. Thank you very much, Rosa. I appreciate that you always have announcements. Thank you. Are there any announcements from anyone in the virtual space?
I don't see any hands.
Okay. I am going to. Stop chewing. I'm going to. So we have on the, and we'll move to our informational updates. If it's okay with the folks who are on from DOHMH, I would like, because you guys have a bit of a longer update to give, if you could give it after East Harlem Co-ed and CCHP, if you don't mind.
I don't see anyone from DOHMH in the panel.
And that,
Mm-mm.
okay.
We're here.
Okay, yeah, because-
Hello.
Yes, I'm sorry, Marlon. So we have,
Okay,
additional folks to give us updates on the, pest control stuff.
I'm gonna move them to panelists, cause they're not tied, they're.
Yeah, sorry.
With attendance.
My lack of communication.
No, it's not a problem.
Okay, so yes, is,
I'm sorry.
any,
Pardon my interruption. If I could be added to that list as well, it's Kathy Karate from the mayor's office. Thank you.
thank you, guys. I can't see names from back here, so sorry. I'm like squinting at the screen. But do we have anyone on from East Harlem Co-ed?
Yes, I'm on. Hello, good evening, everybody. It's Selena.
Selena? Oh, hey, Selena.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Shall I begin?
Yes, I'm sorry, the
Okay.
floor is yours, yes.
Thank
Please.
you. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Selena Hernandez. I'm from the East Harlem Co-ed, and I have a couple of updates. So earlier this month, I think November 1st, Mark Levine had from the Manhattan Borough President's Office hosted a community leadership training. And we were able to provide training on the importance of being prepared and an affordable way to put together a go bag. And we were able to donate 30 go bags to him for those that participated. Earlier this month, we also had a preparedness workshop for small businesses. We rolled that out last year for the first time in Spanish language only because we couldn't find any organizations who provided that. And we wanted to provide sort of a nuts and bolts training on emergency preparedness. And so just earlier this month on actually Election Day, we hosted 10 small businesses and had a half-day training session on preparedness as it pertains to the small businesses. And so that cohort was 10 businesses from East Harlem. And so we're happy to say that they finished and are now a part of the co-ed. So the more people prepared, the more that we're happy. And then our meeting is this Thursday. This month's meeting is virtual. And it's a Thursday, November, let me see, did I write down the date? It's this Thursday, I think that's the 21st at 4 p.m. It will be on Zoom, and we are gonna have as our guests the poison control, and they're gonna talk about all the things they do and some important tips for our community. And lastly, just looking forward, next month, December 19th, we're going to be having an in-person workshop. So this month is virtual. Next, because we do 1 month on, 1 month off. Next month, we're going to be having it in person. It'll be December 19th. We're going to start a little bit earlier at 3:45 because what we want to do is a sort of preparedness workshop activity with everybody. And then we're going to have someone from Settlement Health give a cooking demonstration. And the cooking demonstration is not just any cooking demonstration, it's if you lose power. And so Michelle will teach us how to make a meal if you lose power. And so we invite everyone to participate in that. That will be at Settlement Health on December 19th, 3:45 at their third floor conference room, and all can participate. Feel free to email eastharlemcoed@gmail.com if there are any questions or comments or requests. That's all I have for now.
Cool. Thank you, Selena. I wanted to just say, thank you, because you guys are dope. Like, I'm just thinking about like cooking when it's dark. Like, no, just the level of preparedness that you guys are ensuring that folks have, I think is great. I remember the last event I went to, and we got the to-go bags, and it was just such a helpful, demonstration of what we need to have and be ready with. And it was I felt a little more. It's so funny because like no later than like a few weeks after that, there was a fire on my floor in my building, and I, right at the door, I had my to-go bag, and I was there with my stepson, who's a teenager, and I was just like, wow, so I think that, while we may not, think it comes in handy, you'd be surprised when you will actually need it. So I just wanted to thank you again for that. Rose is here. She said she wants the flyer. So.
Okay.
If you could send that over to Marlene for us, that would be great.
Okay. I will.
Yeah, any questions before I make my last comment? Okay, so Selena, I also sent you guys an email invitation to be a part of our event, December 6th. No, I just wanted to flag it for you to let you know that I sent it.
Okay. It's
Cool.
December 6th?
Yeah, you guys are doing something?
No, I'm writing it down so that I can look it up on the email.
Okay. And I'm happy to resend it, don't worry.
Yeah, can you resend it? That would be
100%.
Yeah, we get really busy this time of year, and so it could have I could have just looked over it, or Evie
Gotcha.
looked over it. And I just want to follow up just to piggyback what you said. We like for people to prepare during blue skies for when gray skies happen. And so it's important, even when things are not happening, I know it's fine, but you prepare during those times so that when things do happen, it's just a little bit easier. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. No, thank you very much for that, Selena. Thank you very much. Okay, cool. If we have no questions, we'll move to our next presenter. Thank you again, Selena. Appreciate you. So the next set of updates will be from CCHP. Do we have Shannon on? Yes, I see Shannon is on. Hi, Shannon.
Hi. CCHP doesn't have any major updates for this month. I'm just here to be a part of the meeting. And then hear more about the event on December 6th.
Copy. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. So yes, so I have Kathleen and I can't see that. I'm sorry, but everyone, yeah.
And Kathleen, I think Kathleen.
And Karen, yes, thank you guys. So
Was there one more person?
there may be. Oh, well, Polly, no.
Martha,
Polly.
Martha Vernaza is here too from Health.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, please, thank you. So, I know I met some of you last week, thanks to Arnice. Thank you very much for making that plug. So
Hi, Kathy. Hi, Catherine.
Yeah, so we're part of what we had mentioned on our budget, so this goes into our monthly review of budget requests and the things that are important to us and the different ways that we can go about, advocating and getting some information and insight around the issues. Our niece plugged this with folks at DOHMH so that we could, learn more about the work that is already being done in East Harlem around pest control. So I won't keep talking because they have a very comprehensive presentation. So yes, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself for everyone, and yes. If you could, lastly, if you could keep the presentation to maybe like 10, 12 minutes and then allow some time for questions, that would be great.
They need to share, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Oh.
yes, they will have, yes, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathy Karate. I'm the citywide director of rodent mitigation out of the office of the mayor. And I'm joined by two colleagues from Department of Health, Caroline and Martha. Caroline and Martha, if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Caroline Bragdon. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Interventions for Pest Control at the Health Department, and I oversee the Neighborhood Rat Reduction Program in Harlem.
Hello, everyone. Martha Vernaza. I lead the outreach and education team with the New York City Health Department, Pest Control Services and Neighborhood Rat Reduction Program. Happy to be here.
And thank you, everyone, for having us. Arnice, thank you for directly plugging us into CB11 and this group. I'm going to just briefly talk about the work we're doing citywide and the administration's commitment to rat mitigation, then pass it to Caroline, whose team has deep roots in history and information about Community Board 11. So as a city, we are heavily leaning into rat mitigation strategies, both at the system scale, so thinking about how we're changing our waste set out, containerization, thinking about how we approach this work differently in working with public properties, so schools, parks, NYCHA, our other office buildings, and then working with our private properties and communities to make sure we're all taking bold steps to reduce the conditions that support rats, and then actively mitigate rats. And really what I'm excited about for this conversation is we know a lot. We have a lot that's already in action, but we know most of all is that we cannot do this work alone. So partnering with community groups, community organizations, individual property owners, individual tenants and buildings is how we really get to the long-term change we're looking for when it comes to less rats across our city. CB11 is in our newest established rat mitigation zone. It encompasses all of Harlem, CBs 9, 10, and 11. And that means we have extra attention and resources in your neighborhood because we know there's a history of rat burden there. We know that through Department of Health inspections and 311 complaints. So we are here as your partners. Caroline has a bunch of information to go into about specifically what health department does in your neighborhood and some data on that. And then look forward to working together. Thanks so much.
Okay, I'm gonna try to pull up my PowerPoint, but I need to make sure I have it available. And let's see if I can share my screen. Please let me know when you can see it and if it's coming up okay.
Yes.
Yep, we can
Great.
see it.
Great. Okay, so this is information that we put together that summarizes some of the work that we're doing in Community Board 11. And I'm going to go through this quickly so we can get to your questions. But our work in Board 11 and throughout the city of New York is really to promote a healthy and safe environment for New Yorkers, which includes reducing rat activity in neighborhoods so that it's not negatively impacting the quality of life for people who live there. And we enforce the health code. We are primarily doing enforcement in the neighborhoods where we work in. And the health code says that property owners are responsible for keeping their properties clean and free from pests. And so that includes property owners that are private property owners, like apartment buildings or commercial buildings. And it also includes property owners that are city agencies. We do thousands and thousands of proactive rat inspections in neighborhoods. And Kathy mentioned rat mitigation zones, neighborhoods with high burdens of rat activity, like Board 11, where we are seeing higher rat activity. We do more inspections in those neighborhoods. And when the property fails inspection, we identify whoever owns it and we send them a commissioner's order to abate. And then we'll give them some time to do abatement and then come back and do another inspection to see if they're complying with the order. I'm going to talk through a little bit about what we're seeing in the community board and then offer up some of the resources that we're also offering to property owners that may need guidance or support. And I'm going to skip this slide. This is a map of the rat mitigation zone that we call the Harlem RMZ. And you can see Board 11 here. You know, Harlem is an interesting neighborhood because there's a very large footprint from city agencies. And primarily in East Harlem, you have a lot of NYCHA properties, and then there's also some parks and many, many public schools. So a lot of the work that we're doing in the mitigation zones is working with the agencies. Luckily, we have Kathy here to help us from City Hall. And our goal is really to make sure the agencies are doing what they need to do to keep their properties clean and rat-free so that they're not negatively impacting the rest of the neighborhood. Then when we go in and do our inspections on private properties, we're helping those owners come into compliance with the health code as well. There are over 3,000 properties in Community Board 11. So there's a lot of properties, and we've inspected all of them this year, and we have been inspecting all of them just about every year except for the pandemic years. So we, as Kathy said, we know a lot about what's going on, and this is how we know it's a rat mitigation zone. We're seeing higher failures for rat activity than in other areas of the city. Because of this, we have additional resources. So we have a senior supervisor who works out of East Harlem. Her office is on 115th Street, and her name is Sharina Blake. And then we also have a supervisor and a case manager named Rashmi, who is dedicated to the area and available just to work in these neighborhoods, respond to complaints, but also do walkthroughs with property owners and help them out. We've been seeing that, you know, complaints always go up and down depending on the season. You can see the highest number of complaints received in the community board was actually in April, where you spiked up to 315 complaints. And that's usually after a long cold winter, people go outside and rats start having babies, and then people see the rats and they call in lots of complaints. But we've been doing pretty well in bringing the number of complaints down. And a lot of this is because of the more proactive work that we've been doing. So we've been seeing a decline in complaints over time. As I said, we're out there doing inspections. We do inspect every single property in the community board. Properties that have complaints will get additional inspections. So we're actually doing many, many more inspections than there are complaints. But what our inspectors are doing, and you may be seeing them out in the neighborhoods, is they're just visually assessing the exterior of every property to see if they have rats or conditions that might be attracting rats. And if you see our inspectors, you're welcome to stop and say hello or point out where you're seeing rats as well. If they fail, the owner identified with the Department of Finance as the person who's responsible for the property will receive this commissioner's order. And attached to the commissioner's order will be an inspection report that details exactly what we found, as well as the time that the owner has to remediate and how to contact us if they need help. We're also sharing this information with you now so that if you and the community board are hearing from owners who've been inspected and have questions, you can contact us directly so that we can help them. We do not announce our inspections. So we will do an unannounced compliance inspection just to see how is that property owner doing. If they fail that inspection, that's when they get the summons. So you always have to fail 2 inspections in a row in order to get a summons. The first failed inspection, you just get an order. There's no fines attached. Some of the reasons why a property might fail is if we see live rats on the property, if we see rat droppings or rat burrows, if we see gnaw marks, rat tracks or rat runways, or if we're seeing things like excessive clutter where rats might be nesting, or mismanaged garbage where rats might be feeding. So all of these conditions will lead to a failed inspection. Now, when we do the compliance inspection, we're looking to see, has the owner of the property made an effort? Have they cleaned up? So right now we're looking, does the property owner have garbage containers? Do the garbage containers have tight-fitting lids? Do we see that the property owner is cleaning in front of their property? Is there any food waste available for rats to feed? Are there signs that rats are nesting? Are there signs that rats are feeding? And if we see those signs, then the owner will get, as I said, a summons. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've seen this year in the community. Overall, we're seeing that about 31% of the inspections that we're doing in East Harlem are failing for one of the reasons, either garbage, harborage like clutter, or rats. The actual percent of inspections that are failing for signs of rats is at 24%. Now, this is about the same as what we're seeing across the city in areas that have high rat activity. So it's not unusual, except for this is a very, very high failure rate. So we, sorry, my kids keep opening my door as I talk. And that's what any working parent might be familiar with that. So, you know, this is for me, this is a worrisomely high failure rate, just because it means that almost 1 in 4 properties have some kind of rat activity. But it's not unusual for what we've been seeing post-pandemic across the city. When we look at, I mentioned before that what makes this area unique is that there's a higher proportion of public properties. So like almost 1 in 5 properties in the community board are public, which means that the city agencies also need to work harder to keep their properties clean and rat-free. And again, that's why we have Kathy, that's why we have this, we have an interagency task force, and we're working really hard to get the agencies in compliance. But as I said, it's not just the private properties where we're seeing signs of rats. I'm going to skip some of this data so we can get to this slide. One of the things that we've been sharing with the community boards is the agencies that are typically failing for rats. So New York City Housing Authority owns, as I said, a high number of properties in the area. And we do a lot of extra inspections on NYCHA, but they do have the highest number of fails. So it's kind of like, we're doing more inspections as we find properties failing, and we're going to continue to keep going back. So you'll keep seeing a high number of inspections on these property. Same thing with the Department of Parks. We are going back to parks pretty much monthly at this point to check for rat activity, and we're going to keep going back because a lot of them continue to fail inspection. Some of the other agencies that we are keeping our eye on is HPD. They actually own quite a lot of property that fail. This could be a vacant lot, but it could also be affordable housing or a tenant interim lease building. Also, small businesses. Department of Small Businesses has properties that are failing inspection, and then New York City Public Schools. I shared this information earlier, but if somebody has a question about the inspections, whether it's a city agency or a private property, they can reach out to our supervisors and inspectors to get assistance. You can also reach our outreach team by emailing us at ratportal@health.nyc.gov. And Martha's team, our outreach team, they have a lot of free training for property owners, and a lot of the free training is virtual, so we try to make it as accessible as possible, but we also have in-person training. And I think, Martha, it's actually December 4th is our next in-person training in East Harlem. Is that right? We have a free in-person training in East Harlem at the Health Action Center where our offices are on December 4th, and it is open to all property owners and small businesses in the neighborhood. If people have questions about where they can see our inspections, they can go to the RAT information portal. It's best to just go to our short URL, which is nyc.gov/rats. And you can also go onto our website, nyc.gov/rats, to download a lot of our materials like our brochure, our posters, and to learn more about what property owners can do to reduce rat activity in their neighborhood. Our strategy is really to be as holistic as possible, working across the neighborhood. So we want to first and foremost manage waste to deny rats the chance to feed. That includes making sure we have rat-resistant containers in the neighborhood, keeping sidewalks and areas around dining establishments clean, removing litter. We are working with sanitation to promote food waste recycling. And then we also do what we call pest proofing, where we try to seal rats out of our public spaces like street trees, parks, green streets, and sidewalks. We do have a small team of exterminators that do some treatment in the neighborhood. We are not the city's exterminator. We mostly do stopgap emergency extermination that helps, basically keep the problem at bay while property owners have a chance to hire their own exterminator. As I said, our website is nyc.gov/rats, and we post every single inspection up there, so you can look up the inspection results of any property in the community, and you can see when we were there and what we found on that property. If you have additional questions, you can email us at ratportal@health.nyc.gov, and we can give you the full details of that inspection and also how to remediate. The last thing we wanted to talk about today is some of the work we're doing with the 2nd Avenue subway team at MTA. As you may have noticed, they have broken ground, and I'm sure you're very well aware that they are working on the area from about 100 to 106. They've started breaking ground, and they're working hard to get the area prepared for construction. Whenever we see a large construction project, we are concerned about rat activity, not because of the construction itself, but because of the way that construction can impact a neighborhood. For example, if you have fenced off areas where construction materials are being stored, those areas can sometimes become cluttered, get litter trapped in them, and can be highly attractive to rats. Also, construction can frequently disrupt garbage pickups, which may lead to rat activity. So we're really keeping a close eye on the area. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you're in touch with them, but if you have any questions, we can also serve as a liaison to the 2nd Avenue subway task force, who've been really great at partnering with us on inspections and also community outreach events. Okay, so our last couple of slides, this is the RAT portal map of the community board, and you can definitely zoom in and look at what we're finding in the neighborhood. We also have information about the RAT Academy and how to sign up. You can always email ratportal@health to sign up for an academy, or if the community board would like to host an academy at your offices, we can bring a workshop straight to you. And the 2nd Avenue subway team has also been working to host academy trainings that will be available to all property and business owners in the community board. So we've done several already, and we have several coming up in the near future. And finally, we do have a revamped guide called Preventing Rats on Your Property that is available in multiple languages and can be ordered by calling 311 or by emailing us, and we can drop off packs at 50 at your office. We want property owners to read these guides and follow the steps in them. They are relatively simple steps, and yet somehow in New York, we're still seeing a lot of property owners are not following kind of the basic rules around keeping properties rat-free. If you're interested in ordering any other materials like our posters, you can email us and follow us on social media to learn more. We have a lot of short videos about what to do. Sometimes it's easier to watch a video than it is to go through our brochure. And so we're trying to get out multimedia messages on what neighborhoods can do. So let's open it up to questions right now. I can stop talking. I'm not sure if Martha has anything else to add.
Yes, I wanted to confirm that we do have a Rat Academy in East Harlem, our East Harlem Neighborhood Health Action Center on December 4th at 4:30. That will be in person, and also we will be raffling off rodent resistant garbage bins at that event. Containerization rules started on November 12th, so this will be hopefully a resource that you may be able to win while attending and learning about Rat Academy and rat prevention training. Other than that, our website has all of our additional trainings, and definitely if the community board is open to hosting or sponsoring, I added our email to the chat box for any questions, comments, concerns, inquiries. So thank you all.
Thank you guys very, very much for this presentation. Are there any questions from any board members? Yes, Mark, please.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. My question is, do you feel like you've been doing more in 24 than you did in 23? And are you actually seeing a change in the results? Because the slide you skipped over, I don't know if it had that, but that graph that showed the peak in April looked as if basically the results from before April and the results after April followed pretty much the same pattern. So it didn't look like there was much change that I could perceive 23 to 24.
I think you're right. We're not seeing a giant change. I'm going back. This is just complaint patterns, but we also have graphs of failed inspections. And generally from 2023 to 2024, we didn't see dramatic changes or reductions in failure rates. And it's interesting. So you're right. There's this kind of seasonal pattern where, you know, complaints go down in cold weather months and then they shoot up. We do compare, you know, season over season. So right now, you know, we're in November. So the complaints are quite high, you know, when there's still warm weather out usually, and people are out and people are eating outside, and then they come down as the weather gets colder. I think it's probably going to take some more time before we start seeing reductions in the number of properties that are failing inspection for rats. And there's several reasons why we're hopeful. The containerization laws that are coming into effect this month will hopefully start to deny rats the chance to feed. A lot of the buildings that are low-rise buildings will need to have all their garbage containerized. And I think as buildings start to do that, you know, rats are going to initially kind of be looking for an alternate food source. And if we're vigilant about keeping the area clean, they're not going to have one, and then they're going to stop breeding. Additionally, all city agencies are currently required to use containers. That too will help because of the high footprint of city-owned properties in the community board. So as we see agencies start to implement containerization, and our partners at NYCHA and New York City Public Schools have really been thinking through how to do this well, the more we can keep that garbage off the street and away from rats, the more successful we'll be over time. And I hope by this time next year, we'll be starting to see some of that impact. It's not easy and it's not fast. In the first 3 rat mitigation zones, it took from 2017 to 2019 before we started really seeing reductions. And most of the reductions and successes that we had seen were erased by the pandemic. And so we're playing a little bit of catch up right now because the pandemic was hard on the city. But I am hopeful that we're on the right track. And the best part of it is that everybody's getting on the same page about what needs to get done. So maybe not a totally satisfactory answer. This is partly why we're reaching out to communities, because we need the message to be amplified, that everyone has to do their part in bringing the rat activity down, and their part is in denying rats food.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The only piece I'd like to add, and I think Carolyn captured it perfectly, in the complexity of this issue, which I think can be washed over sometimes. The other kind of banner change that we're hopeful we'll see dividends on when it comes to our rat mitigation is the permanent dining program. So the COVID era dining sheds, there is now a new legislation that requires streetscape only partial year, different design guidelines and operational guidelines, which will make that streetscape area and those dining structures much less rat friendly, because that's one area we've seen contribute heavily post-COVID to rat populations and rat burden across the city. So that is in effect now. Those dining structures who have applied for the permanent program have till the end of the month, and then we should be seeing sweeping changes in those coming down across the city and reducing a harborage point for rats.
Thank you. That was what I was gonna ask you to touch on, because I remember we talked about that. So thank you. No, this was great. Are there any other questions in the room? Any questions in the virtual space?
I don't see anything.
Squinting, I don't see any hands. Thank you guys very much. Just one.
This presentation?
I do, I just
Okay.
emailed it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I emailed it to everyone on the committee as well just now, so you
Thank you.
have the presentation. Yeah, yeah, sorry, but thank you guys again for the presentation. One, thank you for all of the work you're doing in East Harlem. Thank you for your willingness to come to the committee and build with us about it. You know, we definitely appreciate the transparency. We definitely want to be partners in this, so we'll stay in communication to see how we can, you know, work together on this and other issues that are related. Yes, there is a hand. Okay. Yes, please go for it.
Hi,
Sure.
I don't know what your event is on December 6th, but I know you have an event, and I did want to mention that our program also does come out to tabling events, health fairs. We do come out to the community to provide printed materials, informations, answer questions, and also build that relationship with the community. So if it is something that you feel that we can benefit, that your community board can benefit from us participating in, please definitely shoot us an email so that we can get staff and information out to your area.
Thank you for that point. So the information, of course, wouldn't be limited to the rat mitigation, right? If you came out to table?
No, it's our rat prevention material. We have it in several languages. It is not limited to Community Board 11 at all.
No, I'm sorry. My question was, if you come and table, will the information you table would be limited to the rat mitigation Or would it be more general information about, DOHMH? The reason I ask is because the event is it's an addiction forum around building community strategies for helping to support folks with substance use and addiction issues.
Okay, no, we have rat prevention material over at Pest Control. But also if you are interested in having anyone from the health department, we can definitely send over a flyer to where you can request. So, you know, the health department is huge and we have a lot of different programs, some that you may be able to invite and participate. Yeah. So I can send that flyer over through Caroline if you like.
Yes, thank you, but we also going to keep that first off on the table as well, because there are other events that you definitely should be at, so we'll keep you plugged. I also think, I'm not sure if you guys are already plugged with East Harlem Co-ed, but they may be the first stop, you know, in East Harlem, with disaster management work. You know, I know there's some overlapping there that, you know, tabling at some of their events would definitely be my first recommendation as the committee member, but yes, thank you. This is great. I appreciate it. Yes.
So,
There's one more question in the room.
question or a comment. So as a community resident, a couple of observations, obviously the trees and the streets, they're boroughs. And sometimes the building owners and or property owners are not sure how to handle that. I was pleased to see that on our street, there was activity from the Department of Health and an explanation when we approached them of what they were doing and for what purpose. Our observation also is when there's new buildings being constructed and the foundations are being dug up, that also creates an incredible amount of activity. And many times we don't see that those developers are not putting anything around those areas that are being built. And I didn't hear any mention on that. And the last comment is, there's a lot of questions about the trash cans that are required to be put out in terms of how they're going to be kept secured. And also, will sanitation actually physically take out the bags and then leave the trash cans? Or there's a lot of questions about the new trash cans that I think the community has, especially small building owners. So just wanted to share that.
Sanitation has an outreach team that does a great presentation on these kinds of issues and can help answer questions. And so we could connect you with that team. We do a lot of joint presentations with them. And then just one other thing I'll note about construction is that DOB did get a law passed, I think it was a year ago, that says that if you're engaged in certain kinds of groundbreaking construction, that you must hire a pest control company throughout the duration of that construction. And so if you have questions, you can ask DOB if they have filed their proof that they have an exterminating company working with them.
That's good to know.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. The piece I'll add, kind of like a insider city tip. If you're seeing conditions at a construction site that you think are contributing to a rat population or rat activity there, I'd recommend you put through 2 complaints through 311. One mentioning rat sighting, that will flag it to the Department of Health. And then the second one mentioning clutter at a construction site, because that will go to Department of Buildings, which means you have both teams coming and assessing that area. One thing we do in our rat reduction task force is do joint inspections on properties that have habitual issues. But as residents in Community Board 11, kind of chunk out those complaints or conditions you see, because that will make sure there's more eyes from different agencies on them. Same goes for if you see a garbage condition, end rats, put that in as potentially a rat complaint and then a separate garbage complaint, because that will direct one service request to Caroline and her team, and then the other to the Department of Sanitation to investigate the sanitation issue.
Okay, thank you.
I got myself the last question.
Thank you. I saw mention of gardens in the presentation, but I didn't see anything specific. My question is regarding gardens that are renovating, specifically Rodale Pleasant. They'll be starting their reconstruction and redesign very soon. And I know previously there's been concerns about rodents. Now, we did find a way to mitigate that with cats, but with the construction and the redesign, I could imagine that might, maybe change that. So what would you recommend?
You're talking about Pleasant Village?
Rodell Pleasant Park.
Is it a city garden or is it a private garden?
City garden.
It's a city garden. We actually have we have a team within my team that does just Green Thumb Gardens. And so we could meet the gardeners on site and do a walkthrough with them and make some specific recommendations for their situation. So if you want to send me an email, I can schedule a walkthrough with you and we'll come in and check the garden and we can come up with an action plan.
Okay, thank you.
And I think probably the community board has my email address, but I'll put it in the chat as well.
Thank you again, Caroline and Kathy, and all of you guys, just again, I'm very grateful for you guys. You don't even know. But we will be, in communication, because I definitely want to get sanitation in here next too. So thank you for all the information you're giving us. This is a new committee, so this is all good for us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so I'm gonna push this forward, guys. We're a little bit behind, not really behind, but behind where I wanted to be. Because I kind of wanted to be talking about the event around about now, but we have 2 more presentations. We're gonna yield the floor to Sandra, you're here in the space, but you're next on the list anyway. And then we have 1 more from Borinquen, and then we'll get into our event for a few minutes, and then we'll be out of here around our normal time. We're still keeping the time, but I just wanted to be able to give time for the event so that we can do a little bit of talking about it and planning. Without continuing to talk, Sandra, you can take the floor. I don't know if you have slides. Have you?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring.
Cool. So yes, I will let you take the floor and introduce yourself and tell us about the presentation. We are very grateful for you being here.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for the invitation. And my name is Sandra Talavera, and I'm a longtime resident of East Harlem, but I'm currently the Director of Community Engaged Research, which is part of my Sinai Department of Neurology and Fordham University. So what I wanted to do this evening, very briefly, I will not do on all the slides in the interest of time, is I just wanted to give you an overview of our studies so that the committee is aware that we're doing a lot of research in the community. We're not recruiting currently for any of these studies, but I wanted to share the information because our focus is really on brain health. And our particular focus is really working with our communities, underrepresented communities in research. So I wanted to share information, general information about these projects. Next slide. Should I scroll down? Should I? Tap the next arrow.
I did that.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna give it, no one panic. Everybody relax.
So-
So cool.
So we always, before any presentation, like to do a line acknowledgement, and so we acknowledge the people of the tribal nations and tribes in New York City, the Lenni, Lenape, Cayuga, Mohawk, Erie, Seneca, and Oneida, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognize their continuing connection to the land, water, and air that the United States consumes. And we pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging.
Thank you for the.
I can move on?
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is an overview. Again, I'll be talking on these different topics. I don't want to spell out each one. Will have its own topic presentation. So I'll header. So I want to move on to the next slide. So this is our research team. The 2 top rows are our primary investigators, which is Monica Rivera Mint, who is a professor at Fordham University, and Jessica Robinson Papp, who's our medical principal investigator. She's a neurologist at Sinai. The rest of the team and my colleague here present, Joseph, we have many other members of the team, as you could see in the bottom comprised. But this is basically our research team. Next slide. And we always like to explain what is dementia because sometimes there's a little confusion between dementia and some of the other terminology. So we like to explain that dementia is a general term that for severe problems with thinking, like memory, attention, reasoning, that interferes with a person's daily life. And so dementia may have very different causes. We like to use the umbrella, which is very commonly used by the Alzheimer's Association, to explain that there are many different causes, and Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. But there's also vascular dementia, Lewy body, and frontotemporal dementia. And again, that's how we like to represent and explain very briefly what dementia is, since all of our studies evolve around this topic and this focus. Next slide. So Alzheimer's is a disease, it's a degenerative brain disease that worsens over time. And so Alzheimer's causes difficulty with memory, reasoning, language, and many other areas, but it's not a normal part of aging. And there's currently no cure for Alzheimer's. There's a lot of talk of medication that's coming out, but it really is a delay, there is currently no cure for Alzheimer's. Age is the greatest risk factor, 65 and over, but there's approximately 200,000 Americans under 65 that are also living with early onset of Alzheimer's disease. Next slide. And so very quickly, some facts and projections that more than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease. This number is expected to double by 2050. Over 11 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Latinos are 1.5 times more likely to get Alzheimer's disease and related dementias than non-Latino whites. And almost 6 in 10 Latinos, 57%, believe that significant memory loss or cognitive abilities is a normal part of aging, which is, again, why we want to really focus on the whole education to explain, this is not a normal part of aging and our communities are affected at a much higher rate. African Americans are 2 times more likely to get Alzheimer's disease and related dementias than non-Latino whites. And in 2024, health and long-term costs of Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's related diseases are projected to reach $360 billion in terms of cost. So again, the impact of this disease is quite significant. Next slide. So as our Rivera Min study mission, our research lab uses a model of community-based participatory research, and we conduct multiple local and national studies. And our goal is really to work with diverse populations: African American, Latinas, Latinos, Asian American, Pacific Islanders, Native American, Alaskan Natives. And our goal is to advance brain health equity for all. So even though our communities are impacted at a higher rate, our community are the least represented in research. And that is why what all of our research have in common is that we're working and collaborating with our underrepresented communities because we are affected at a higher rate, but we're not represented in research. That last FDA approved medication that was promoted, 95% of those that participated in those clinical trials were non-Latinos. And so our communities are not represented in research, and that is why our focus is that. Next slide. And just wanted to share some of the benefits of becoming part of a brain study. Again, it improves the understanding of how culture and aging affect the brain as people get older. The study can provide participants and our care providers neuropsychological evaluations and MRI results, which is a value of thousands of dollars. MRI evaluations have provided for the detection of unknown brain problems such as a recent stroke or tumor. And certainly will improve future treatment plans for Latina and African American Black older adults. So those are some of the benefits of participating in our brain studies. Next slide. We have a very, very strong commitment to the community. And the way we do that is through multiple activities. We are very active, and if you could see a picture here of my colleague Joseph and I, we're very active in the East Harlem Community Health Committee Board and Older Adult Subcommittee. We sponsor community events. We recently helped with a survey that was conducted by our local senior centers in Raffle. All of our studies have a community science partnership board, and that's comprised of community representation and members of our studies. We do many tabling events. This fourth picture is when we did the power of aging at Jefferson Park recently. We do also presentations on aging, healthy brain, HIV, and Alzheimer's disease. It's not just about doing research, it's about giving back to the community. And so we are always presenting different topics that we could share with the community. And many of those we're also in the process of translating them so we could also do them in Spanish. And we do tabling at conferences. This last picture is we went to the annual Gay Men's Health Crisis Conference and did a tabling event there. Next slide. Very quickly, I'm just going to do a very brief overview of the various studies for your information. The current study that I started working with back in 2020 is called Salud, which is the study of aging African American Latinas for understanding dementia. This is a longitudinal study. It's a 3-year project, and it examines the genetic and non-genetic, such as education, medical conditions, and lifestyle, the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease and HIV-associated neurocognitive disorder. In stable both HIV positive and HIV negative Latinos of any race, non-Latino Blacks, and non-Latino white adults. This is a local New York City study. We're in the process of applying for an extension. Hopefully, if we do get an extension, we might then initiate recruitment. But currently, we're just going on with the baseline of our current participants. Our age for this study is 55 years and older. Next slide. I won't go over this. This is just showing all the different components of our study, how we go about. But again, in the interest of time, you have the slides, and if we have time, I could certainly review that, but I'd like to review the next slide to just tell you a little bit briefly of our other studies. Next slide. The Beyond study, that study is a biomarker evaluation in young onset dementia from diverse populations. It's a pilot, and the focus of this study is early onset dementia. So whereas our Salud study focuses on aging, culture, HIV positive, HIV negative, and how those variables intersect, this study focuses on early onset. So this is 40 to 64-year-old, and this is a national study. So we do it with different areas in the US. And here our participants complete an online questionnaire. They do surveys, provide blood samples, which is done in the home, and undergo cognitive testing and neuroimaging, including an MRI scan. Next slide. The ADNI study, which is actually, Joseph is our project manager for that study. This study has been around for over 20 years. But ADNI, the component that we're currently in, is specifically doing ADNI for our underrepresented communities, right? So that even though over 20 years this study has been in existence, the majority of the participants are non-Latino whites and non-Latino African Americans. So our study, this aspect of this study is focusing on underrepresented communities. So this study again wants to study changes in thinking and memory over time. to learn more about brain health and Alzheimer's disease in our underrepresented communities. We have memory and thinking tests which are done online. That's the first phase. Then there's providing blood samples. That's a second phase, and completed an MRI and a PET brain imaging is a third phase of this particular study. It's a national study, and we have different sites, 3 of which are in New York City. We're getting those, trying to get those up and running, and 9 of 54 are also hub sites. So that's where we have staff, boots on the ground, doing presentations in the community, introducing the study to advise the community, you know, what we're doing, and also providing health education topics. This group is 52 to 90. Next slide. Our CEDAR study. Our CEDAR study is community engaged. It's a digital Alzheimer's research study. Excuse me, and it also advanced to aims to advance understanding of social and cultural factors that can impact memory and thinking in adults from groups that are under included in research. The age is 55 and older, and this is primarily following a what's called a brain health registry, which is a national registry to identify people from our community to participate, but be part of a digital research process. This also is 55 and older. And next slide. And the last study is known as Clarity. This is a unique nationwide study looking at overlapping causes of dementia. Although Alzheimer's disease is the most frequently occurring type of dementia, it is common for multiple types of dementia to occur at the same time. So it's important to identify all the causes of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias to have the knowledge that we need to keep our brains healthy. So this groundbreaking study will use brain imaging and blood work to understand brain health over time. This is also a nationwide study, and it's done in consortium with existing Alzheimer's disease research centers. So those entities that already exist, it's a consortium, and they're collaborating to do this study going forward. Next slide. These are basically all of our contact information. Our lab is located on Madison Avenue and 116th Street, so we're right here in the neighborhood. We're not at Mount Sinai proper. So all of our in-person activities take place at our offices on 116th Street and Madison Avenue. And we always like to share, next slide, community resources. So obviously the Alzheimer's Association is an incredible resource. They have support groups and information 24/7. This is the email, the website and the phone numbers. Mount Sinai has a cognitive clinic that started recently, and it's available every third Thursday of the month for individuals that have symptoms and need to be evaluated within our community. This is very recently that it's been put together by our neurology department, and members of our team are actively participating in this clinic for the benefit of our community. And Caring Kind is another organization that provides 24/7 support, information, and resources. Next slide. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much for your time. Be glad to come back to do any very in-depth detail. And again, if we open recruitment in the future, anyone interested can still contact us, because we will keep their information in case they're interested. And we're in the near future, start our activities. But just wanted to share that there's a lot of information, a lot of work being done in this community as it relates to brain health equity, and we're here to service the community, and anything we could do to collaborate with any groups to do presentations on brain health, HIV, Alzheimer's disease, and we're here to support our community.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, you guys are located diagonally from where I'm at the church, and and you saying that, I remember when we did the workshop
At Dream.
At Dream, I need to have you come and speak to our
Absolutely.
congregation. That was, yeah, so I have to connect you with Reverend James so we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
We have a large Asian population in the church, and I'm sure that this information is informed, helpful to you. So,
We have done presentation on Alzheimer's disease at the bilingual school, the East Harlem Council on Human Services. Bilingual Head Start, we did a presentation to both their staff and also their parents association. They meet once a year. And we did a presentation for them on understanding what dementia is and brain health, for example, which is what they asked for.
Thank you very much. Yes. Any questions for Sandra? Yeah, please.
I have a question. Thank you so much for that. That was amazing.
And after you two, I'm gonna go to the virtual spaces, then we're gonna come out with questions. Sorry.
It's okay. What would be the best method of contact if, one wanted to inquire about any future studies?
Our numbers here, we have our phone number, is 212-241-6997. And we also have our, email address, which is saludstudy@mssm.edu.
What was the last four, please?
6997.
Thank you.
That's our lab number.
Okay.
And I'll make sure I get these slides to everyone as well.
So presentations always go up after the meeting on the
Yes.
website, always.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
So you will have access to it. It's going to live in infamy on the
you.
website.
Okay.
Yeah. To that point, every month, slides go up on the site. Yes, Mark.
Thank you for that. I'm just curious, obviously the research is continuing and expanding, it sounds like, but are there any early sort of candidates, as it were, for the significant difference in incidence between Latinos and African Americans from non-Latino whites? I mean, that's pretty striking differences. There must be already some information or data that would indicate why.
Unfortunately, that's part of the problem, that historically, much of the research that has been in this field has not included our communities.
Right.
And so that certainly is the focus. That's not to say there may be other studies in other parts of the nation, but our particular studies, all of them have that in common, where we want to see and have an understanding.
But does that
why
mean that the study, the research has been so deficient up to now that there's not even a candidate or a hypothesis as to why there is such a stark difference?
That's part of the challenge, is to understand. Is it, are there cultural factors, are there genetic factors, or so much? The imaging differences in the brain, age, those are the questions that the research is looking to have a better understanding.
And this may be too technical, but the incident data itself, how is that collected?
I think this is part of, well, a lot of the data we get obviously from the Alzheimer's Association and organizations that have been doing research in Alzheimer's and other studies, obviously, the reporting of it, of doctors of diagnosis based on Medicare, et cetera. So there's many different sources to come up with the statistical information, but the reasoning and understanding of why, that's why there's so much research, and there's a big focus, actually. There's a recognition that there's not enough study done. I mean, ADNI is a good example. They've been doing research for over 20 years. And now in this stage of the study, it's specifically focusing on trying to understand why it's impacting our communities. So more to share and more to learn. And many of our study participants are part of our Community Science Partnership Board. And they want to learn and they want to understand, besides participating, they want to understand why is it affecting our communities. When I go out in the community and do tabling, the majority, so much of the responses is mi tia, mi abuela, my grandmother, my sisters, my aunt. You know, I'm afraid for myself. So, and they want to learn, they want information, they want to understand. So we're trying to do both things, do the research in the house and try to share the information that we've learned out in the community.
Thank you again, son. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really. All right, I don't see any hands in the room or in the virtual space. So I'm going to keep us moving. Again, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being in person. That's
Oh,
good.
yeah, of course.
All right, so I see that we do have Dr. Suarez on. Thank you. I won't take up any more time. I'll let you get right into your presentation on Meridians. Thank you very much.
Hi, just confirming that you can hear me and see me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Nice to be with you all this evening. This being my first committee meeting, just really impressed about the information that's coming through. I'm learning a lot, so thank you for having me. I wanted to represent the East Harlem Council for Human Services, specifically the Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center. I am their new Chief Medical Officer. I've been in the role for about 5 or 6 months now. I am a primary care internist myself for the last 11 years. I've worked in and around New York City, Washington Heights area, the South Bronx area. So it's only fitting that I've now come to the East Harlem community. Always dedicated to serving the most needed population. I myself am a mother of 2 young girls and Puerto Rican, New Yorican, and so feel very strongly about serving the Puerto Rican and wide variety of population that's in the East Harlem community. I wanted to share with you all that the Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center is a federally qualified health center, that we are also a patient-centered medical home, and that we serve about 12,400 patients in and around the East Harlem community. About half of the members of our health center do come from the 10035 zip code, and then the other half are sprinkled throughout the city. We do serve predominantly Medicaid and Medicare patients. We serve a lot of patients that are uninsured or underinsured. And the services that are available within the Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center include dental. We have a huge dental program. It accounts for about 1/3 of our patient population, patient visits, excuse me. And we have an oral surgeon right on site, part-time, which is a huge asset to the community. We also are recruiting a pediatric dentist. While we already see pediatric dental patients, we are finding a need to have one on site for slightly more complex pediatric cases. We also have a women's health department that includes 2 certified nurse midwife nurse practitioners, as well as an OBGYN attending who serves with us part-time. They see predominantly routine gynecological patients, from anything from pap smears for cervical cancer screening to sexually transmitted infection treatment and menopausal and postmenopausal issues. We also see low risk or average risk prenatal patients, so pregnant women through their pregnancy. We have a phenomenal success rate of patients not only having successful deliveries at term, but also being relinked to Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center for their postpartum care, and also their newborn babies being linked into our pediatrics department more than 70% of the time. We also have a large primary care for adults and pediatric department. We see patients from 0 all the way to end of life. And we're in the midst of recruiting new providers. We're looking for medical doctors as well as nurse practitioners or physician assistants, just in the setting of recent retirement and folks that have created some vacancies. So we're looking for the exciting future of the provider workforce within our health center. And then you may or may not know that we were the recipient of a Downtown Revitalization Initiative Award. And so with those funds, we are able to expand not only our dental suites, we have 10 currently, and we're expanding 3 additional. We're also doing our research on physical therapy, being able to offer physical therapy within the health center. We are looking at as well expanding behavioral health. So I failed to mention, behavioral health is one of our strongest departments that runs through all of the clinical departments. We have a host of social workers and care managers to help patients with low-level depression or anxiety, with talk therapy and medication management. But also our care managers help with day-to-day care management needs, including helping with making appointments, durable medical equipment, home health aid, forms and assignments. And so a wonderful, plethora of services. It is an exciting year ahead for us at the Boarding Neighborhood Health Center. We also were awarded the Behavioral Health Service Expansion Grant through HRSA just in September. And then last but not least, I wanted to share with you that we have a focus on quality improvement throughout the health center. We have a wonderful director of quality, Jen Collazo, who involves every member of the care team, not just the providers and the nurses, but also operations staff and facility staff in really improving the care that's being delivered to our patients. And we just ended our quality year with a 4th annual quality conference that was hosted at the Mount Sinai School of Nursing, where we had 7 poster presentations from our staff on a wide range of topics, including cervical cancer screening rates, also dental sealants in our school-based health center children, et cetera. And we had as a keynote speaker the New York State Commissioner of Health, Dr. James McDonald, who came and spoke about the social drivers of health and a lot of the work that's being done in the state with the new Medicaid 1115 waiver. So it was a successful event, and we look forward to continuing our quality improvement efforts. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Dr. Suarez, thank you very much. It's good to have Borinquen back at the Human Services Committee. So we do have a little bit of history with you all. Our former vice chair was actually, what was Art's position? He was like, I think he had Dr. Aponte's position.
Yeah, so he's CEO.
Yeah, so that was yeah, that was who was there before. We used to get actually monthly updates from you all. So that's kind of where I was going next, in that, do you all have the capacity to return to give monthly updates? Also, I'm gonna ask like 5 questions at once if it's okay. The other thing I was wondering was, so one thing, and I'm sure this wasn't mentioned because I always flag this, but we didn't hear much about Borinquen's behavioral health work in the past. So I would love if that was brought more into this space. You know, behavioral health is very important, and it's just very important that we just get understanding around that. So knowing the work that you all are doing there would be great. Also, we have an event coming up on December 6th, and I was wondering if you guys would be interested in tabling there. So that was like 3 questions, not 5.
Awesome. Okay, just the last one first. We're always interested in tabling. If you are not already familiar with Anne Marie, our marketing director, I can help with connecting you all. But yeah, she has a great team of community engagement workers that we put out there, as much as possible, because it's so important to connect patients with needed services. And then on the first question about returning for monthly updates, we can certainly make that happen. And then to tie that into the second response about behavioral health, it's very timely. We're expanding behavioral health to meet the needs of the patient population. We've received this grant. We are full force into expanding, recruiting more behavioral health staff members. Different and unique job descriptions are being put out. And then also trying to address not just the mental health side, which we've become, I think, better, really solid at over the years, but also the substance use disorder treatment aspect. And so, really looking for recruitment of specific provider workforce as well as behavioral health workforce that can meet those needs. So I'd be happy to, keep you all posted, either myself or my director of behavioral health, Orlando Bosch, on, how those plans are being laid out.
Thank you very much. In, line with the tabling with Yeah, could the I don't expect you not to give us general information, but can a lot of the information or enough of it be tailored specifically toward that behavioral health and substance use work that you all are doing? Because that's what people will be coming to the event for anyway.
Certainly, we usually have a care manager and or a health navigator that can also be present, depending on the date and the time. So let's be in touch, and then we can try to make those additional resources available.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you so much. All right, are there any other questions? Yes, Rosa, please.
Hi, you mentioned something about home health aid. I wanted you to clarify. I didn't understand. I apologize.
No worries. So many of our patients qualify for a home health aide in their home to help them with, activities of daily living, to help them remember to take their medications or help them, attend appointments, to do daily chores that they're unable to for whatever, medical condition reason that they have. And so it is up to the provider to do an evaluation, and it is up to a care manager to assist with doing the necessary paperwork, submitting it, being the liaison between the patient, the provider, and the health insurance company. And so we do a lot of work for patients in need on that front.
Thank you.
Well, any other questions in the room before I go to the virtual space? Cool. I see, who's here tonight? Marlene?
The person with the hand up.
Sharon.
Yes, my
Sharon.
name is Sharon Jackie. I'm just wondering, the African American population as well as the Latino, the Hispanic population, also Mediterraneans, are you doing any work with sickle cell anemia research? And will you be presenting anything going forward? There are some breakthroughs. I'm sure there are people within the community in those groups that suffer from sickle cell anemia. I'm just wondering if that will ever be something that you present on, or are you doing research? Are you looking into it? You probably are. I'm just curious.
It's a good question. It's not necessarily a focus of the health center. We don't, for example, have a hematologist on staff, or we don't have, a sickle cell anemia specialist. For sickle cell patients, we still would provide routine primary care and then work in concert with the hematologist specialist within one of the nearby health hospital health systems, predominantly Metropolitan or Mount Sinai. So we don't. Yeah, so there isn't research being done at the health center per se.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, so seeing no more questions, again, Dr. Suarez, thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, likewise.
Cool. All right, you all. I just want to shout out Shannon. Thank you, Shannon, for sitting through all of this and everybody else who's kind of sat through to get to this part of the meeting. I appreciate everyone's patience. We will get out of here at our normal time, but I did want to take some time right now to move into maybe some form of an info session or input session or whatever we want to call it. Input planning sessions. I like funny names. Yeah, we're moving to the old business section. So pretty much what we're talking about right now is this event. Thank you very much. Good night. Good night. Like you don't say this. So we're having this event, you all, on December 6th. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a forum around addiction and substance use. The theme is around building strategies, building community and support systems. So the goal is to bring together, this is just me speaking without looking at the paper. This is an event to bring together the resources in the community along with community residents and people who may be experiencing or need support to understand better strategies for supporting people who are dealing with addiction and substance use. This is not just adults. I do want us to place a focus on young people as well as adults in this event. Before you all have a planning document which I will walk through. And please, we don't have to be so formal with the raising your hand to be recognized, but don't cross-talk, just so that
Thank you.
everyone can, like whoever's online can hear. But a lot of this, so essentially, this is not a It's Scott event. I just want to be clear about that. This is a Human Services Committee event. So you all by default are required to be present and be a part of the plan. Yes, I said, okay, yes, so just so we clear on that, so you're not looking at me like, so. What are we doing? You guys let me know. So with that being said, the purpose of this meeting, really, this part of this session was for us to get more deeper into planning around the event. There will be another strategic planning meeting Friday at 3 o'clock, which will have some of the organizers in the room if they're available. But the goal is to get clear on what the agenda would look like. The reason I took up time during this meeting for this was not only because we need to plan as a group, but so that the community could give any feedback or thoughts on the event itself. And could give us input, and hence like why Shannon stayed on and a few other people stayed on. So essentially, so with the event, going to the event. So as you all can see, I'm probably very non-traditional in a lot of ways. So obviously I didn't want to do a traditional community board event. I wasn't gonna waste my time with that because we have a lot of those kinds of events where we just come together, they give out a lot of information and we get out of it. My hope with this event was that there would be enough time for there to be community building and strategizing in the space. So as a community, you know, and first off, I do expect community board members to be present, not just you all, but other board members. At the very least, the board needs to be in this meeting because these strategies are for in a lot of ways for the folks who are in positions to be able to facilitate these connections. So it's making these strategies, we should have board members in the room, but we will have, you know, the goal is to have, to invite, you know, organizations who are already doing the work, with folks, whether that is through, you know, the drug program or whatever services they're offering, to be in the room. I feel like I just said what I'm saying. Let me just go through the update, sorry. So agenda highlights, some things that, what I was bringing up the non-traditional. So hence the keynote performance. I didn't want to do your traditional keynote speaker thing. So I was thinking, well, it would be great to incorporate the arts in this event. And the reason I thought that is because it'd be more engaging. And I also thought it would open people up to understanding the issues that people are going through, you know, dealing with addiction and substance use a little bit better and a little bit more clearly, and a little bit more creatively than just your standard, I heard this person talk and give testimony. You know, we will have some of that, but for the most part, I wanted to kick off the day with something creative. You know, every part of this is up for discussion, so let's talk about it. But I just laid a framework for us to work from. I do work with, I'm an artist, professional artist, and this is my field, so I know a lot of artists and performing artists, but in particular, Alex Anderson, who runs the Reentry Theater of Harlem, does a lot of work specifically with folks who are in drug programs and people who are dealing with substance use actively, and they do performances around, you know, dealing with the addiction. So I wanted to give them space to be in the room because I think that will set a good tone for the discourse coming after that, if you will, right? So of course we'll have opening remarks. This is where I was told that I have to let city officials speak. I was told I have to let the city.
That means city officials
and elected officials. So y'all know how I am. This was more of a community space, but I definitely, I am definitely, I am trying to get Diane in the room, cause she's a huge support. I also want to get Eddie in the room. He's also, for people. These are folks that I've worked with in the past, so I wouldn't want them in the room. I am open to you all's feedback on elected officials that you think do support the issue to some degree, and it would be good to have them in the space. I don't wanna create a space where it's about elected officials, so I just want to say that off the bat. But if you have some folks who are like, I feel like this person is serious about this issue, and it'd be good to have them give a few words in the beginning, please. Let's at least shoot a invite to them. And you have them or someone on their staff come. So that would be good. But the beginning parts of the meeting, one second, Ash, would be like, that part, opening remarks, and then we're going to the keynote, yes.
Anyone invite for no clear?
Yeah, I'm probably sure that's on Marlene's radar. Yes, I know, cause we had, so and then in this, I'll also tell you the meetings I've had with people. Of course, I've had a few meetings with Rosa, who was gracious enough to get us the venue on at East Harlem Community Partnership on 111th Street. I did meet with Marlene and Angie last week, and we spoke about outreach. So one of the things I can commit to is being able to organize people and get people to come into the room and do what they said they would do. I just need help with getting other people in the room. So I really need help with recruitment. So that's hence the reason I just brought that in, because I definitely said I need yours help with getting, the right people in the room. I can, I don't have the time to actually sit and email everyone. There are a lot of people in the room. Yes, please.
Like, I was also in the meeting.
Yeah. Oh, you want to, Rose? It is like, I don't know what's
It's a
happening.
heavy Monday.
Sorry.
It's okay. But Cordell, literally.
She was on a damn phone on Friday. She turned the camera to Cordell on Marlene. Why didn't you say that? You was on the call. You just let me share, right?
Yeah.
I see. So yes, so Cordell does know because she was sitting right next to her, turned the camera to her while we were having the meeting. So I'm sure.
Cordell said, absolutely, send me the invite.
Sorry.
So
So that'll be on you to send it to.
Right, we said that we'll connect with elected officials and then youth, remember, we
Yes.
also.
So this is, yeah, so getting there, after the keynote, well, any other questions about, actually, putting you in. Any other questions about the opening remarks and keynote before I go to the panels, which is taking us to young people? No? Cool, definitely want suggestions, yeah, please.
No, I have a question just in general about the space, because okay, how is the space and how many people?
We're gonna find, so part of, I have to go and visit, well, Rosa's seen the space, so we have a general description. If you've been to an event at the Dream School, she said it's about the same size as that big room, so we should relatively have a huge amount of space to do tabling along the perimeter of the room and have our event in the room, so that should be good. Yeah, but that's pretty much one big room we'll have.
Okay.
Yeah, and the goal is to keep everything, even though there'll be a point where we do like breakout groups, that'll still happen in the room, so it'll probably be at different tables, so we don't wanna ask people to move around, yeah, because we move people like that. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so going to Ash. So, so I'm just thinking about our, that everything's on the altar for you all to talk about. I would love it if I would love it if we had at least 2 panel discussions. They can be as short as 35 minutes, each. But, I would love to have one just generally, and this is one thing I hope we can decide on today, the actual title and topic of these discussions. One is a general discussion around this issue of, bridging community support systems, like, just like you have to have a panel that's in line with the event. That's the general one. We can think about the questions and stuff. We can workshop that, but I specifically want to have one that's geared toward young people with substance abuse. So that's something I want us to think about. And Ash, we were just talking about reaching out to you all about these people. So reaching out to you, Dave, and Rosa, and
My
just more people.
suggestion is David for that one.
Yeah.
Because also I will, as you know, he is the director of the East Harlem Center, but also, I would not add class that day, so like, I want to necessarily, yeah. Yes.
Can I encourage you to cut? Off the record. Man, Ash, chill, man. Just playing. I would never encourage them. Oh, let's talk about that. We gotta get at David. All right, cool. No, thank you, Ash. So we'll definitely be reaching out to David, who's the chair of Youth and Education Committee. Vice, oh, sorry. Put some respect on Ash name. Ash is the chair.
Yeah.
Who just served, you know what, Marvin, you just let me go in right there. You let me go in right there. Yes, Ash is the chair, forgive me, I'm so used to David being the chair, David talks so much at the meeting, you would think he's the chair. But Dave is the vice chair now, who stepped aside to allow, for some youth leadership, which was fire, which I love about that committee. So yes, thank you, Ash. We will work with the vice chair to, get, young people in the room and whoever else we need to. But, before we go,
Contact the superintendent.
yeah,
That's what we said.
that's what, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
said.
yeah, we want all those suggestions.
We'll include you in the email.
Yeah, please. So just because you can't be there that day, don't mean you
Yeah.
can't help
I mean,
else
yeah.
people in the room.
Yeah.
Utilize.
I appreciate it, yeah. So can we think about, some, so what could we think about a specific like, theme or topic for these two panel discussions? I mean, we kind of have the themes, but like the actual names of them, so we can kind of.
Can I brainstorm,
Yeah.
over, like moving forward? You know, cause,
Moving forward.
you know what I mean, like, a lot of people get stuck on the current situation and they don't know like what else to do, right? And that, like, moving forward has been my keyword for like everything that I do, and, at least to me, it keeps me sane, and it keeps me going to like a positive path each time. And it's just, I think it compiles a lot, you know, like moving forward, it's a lot of things at the same time. That would be like.
Something that I think about is like, like me personally, I've carried Narcan since I was like 14, maybe like something about that. Cause I'm pretty sure you can't start carrying that once you turn 13 or something like that, like, how they use Narcan, see if, I don't remember, when we had that presentation, it was from Mount Sinai Metropolitan, that they have access to give out those kits for free and stuff like that. Like what to do in a situation if someone overdoses, cause we're talking about ways to prevent prevention, but however, people need to know how to, protect.
Is there someone we can get to do the Narcan training there that day?
What about the people who were at, the people who were at, they had a table at Party on Park. There was a Narcan table there, right across from, La Marqueta. Yes, they were there.
Were they on site?
We could,
No, they were the city because they had the blue. from
yes, the
NYC.
Department of Health has done it in the
Yes.
past.
Health and hospital.
Okay.
Yes, they were there.
Thank you. Mo, you were saying something, Molly?
If we're unsure, Carrie King leads Party in Park, so we just
Mhm.
contact her for her list,
Okay,
and she'll tell you.
so can I get some help with someone? Yes,
hi.
please.
Oh, I was gonna say, us at CCHP, we also do Narcan trainings, and since we're already gonna table there, I can do the Narcan training.
Wow. Here we go. Don't talk about it. Thank you, Shannon.
No problem.
Put it out there, look what happens. Cause I've heard stories of like people panicking, like if they see like a friend overdose and they just leave them there, so I'm like. It's a unfortunate like a reality we have to think about, because there will be people overdosing, so yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. That's good. Okay, topics on, the one topics for the panel. You want to say something? Oh, no. Okay. Any thoughts on the topics? One general one sense around youth, any specific?
Maybe social media and the effects it has, especially on like alcohol and weed usage, because weed is legal for adults, but it's not legal for younger people. So like, yeah, Like, I know a lot of people even my age, 20, but it's very much up in smoking weed since they were like 16. So, yeah.
Any other thoughts? I see you, Ron.
I think it's, wait, sorry, one more thing. It's not even just from social media, it's also from media and like movies in general tend to depict it as a whatever type thing. So, yeah.
Specifically like weed and alcohol.
Yeah, weed, alcohol, even drugs, like we have
Just drug use, period.
Was it Euphoria? I think that's the name of it, like, that's a whole thing. It's a show, still going. Yeah.
I'm just gonna suggest, in terms of whether you have the panelists, one, that the topic be extremely specific so that people know what to expect, and two, that they're an expert and have gone through whatever they're speaking about, because the one thing I find annoying is that when there's a panelist and they talking and they're not offering anything valuable or any takeaways, and they just took up a whole 35 minutes. So narrow down what the topic is going to be explicitly, so that then you'll know who to ask to be on a panel.
Make it
Because it's very
successful.
helpful for young people to have an example.
Yeah.
It's very important for them to have an example of someone who is going through what they're experiencing, so that they can be encouraged to know either if they're in a circumstance, they'll get to the other side, or that it'll prevent them from getting into a circumstance that they have to get out of. So I just wanted to make that one.
100%.
Just from personal experience, I just want to make sure that that's very important.
Thank you for saying that, and just now see the selection of panelists is a whole nother thing too, because, right, we want people who are going to be able to be clear and can, you know, articulate what we need them to articulate in a certain amount of time. I will also be moderating these panels for that purpose, so that we get everything we need to get out of our panelists, but I definitely would love your suggestions on panelists. Yes, Lee.
No suggestion on panelists, but I love what she's saying, in the sense, let's say if we talk about like a youth and drug or substance abuse in general. What would be great to have, like, for example, somebody who works like in a crisis center, for example, somebody who has like medical experience, to advise on, like, you know, in this case, what happens, like, you know, you see this physically, but this is what's happening, for example, in the brain. And, you know, if you act this certain way, and then you make things worse, or you make things better, it's like a medical background, like hands-on, somebody who's dealt with that every single day, when they see, for example, young people coming in back and forth, and also have even young people who have experienced that also in the past. So I think that would be a great, like, you know, like a full spectrum of different perspectives.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
but
Marcel, and then, oh, we got it, okay.
Just you, whatever you wanna
Okay,
recognize.
so I'm gonna go to
Anthony,
Marcel, I'm gonna come back to, Ash, and then we'll go to the virtual.
So it's interesting that Ash said, social media, because that's the first thing that I wrote down. But tying into that, I think we should incorporate an influencer, someone that can actually provide, like you mentioned, you know, the health aspect, but also make that connection, bridge the gap between the medical world and real life, because whether we like it or not, the youth love influencers. And if we're going to incorporate social media, they will have influence. We just have to be mindful of who we select and what they would offer, but I think it would be beneficial to have them.
Okay, could I task you with, trying to find one?
I knew that was coming, okay. I knew that was.
We come up with something.
Okay, I think.
No, but that, I agree with you, Marcel, because yes, I agree with you,
Or maybe even just like someone who's younger, on the younger side, it's like maybe like one like medical professional and one younger person. Because I think also like tying back like to what Alita said and also what I said, I don't want it just to be like us analyzing different social medias and blah, blah, blah. I think maybe it could be like show a scene from like a movie. And then, or like maybe give an example or something like that and be like, here's the reality if you were to do that. Because people see these fictional, because I think even social media, like even not just movies, but social media is all very fake. People don't share like how messed up this stuff makes them and stuff like that. Maybe give examples maybe put like, I don't know, yeah, examples.
I love this, I love this.
Because that very much is a big thing nowadays for why people, like even around my age or younger than me, who do drugs and they smoke and stuff like that, it's like, well, this is just something that like I see everyone doing on social media or something. I see like very much like the peer pressure is an even bigger thing now. Cause it's not just like the people who you surround yourself with, it's constantly on your phone, it's constantly,
It's normalized.
it's normalized, it very much is a normalized thing, like. Specifically, like some of the spaces I'm in, everyone's smoking, I'm just here like, okay, like, not. But it's the fact that it's legal for adults, but we need to emphasize that it's not legal if you're under the age of 21. Same thing with drinking, same thing with multiple things.
Yeah, you know, this is when we think about putting the health perspectives of using alcohol and smoking products for young people. Because yeah, to the point that you are making, it is very much normalized, but I think it's important that young people understand how it will impact your body. You know, you should know that this is, you know, sure you know, because at the end of the day, I don't know how much, you know, just having teenage kids and working with youngsters for a long time, and how much in one event will have someone stop smoking or drinking, as much as it will give them some information about if I do this long term, this can happen, and or them seeing someone later, like, yeah, that's what they were talking about.
It's also.
So that means they know, like, okay, there's this plain no seed, because that's one thing I know when I was young. Only thing you could really do is plant seed, it wasn't getting to stop doing that. That's why I'm telling
It's
you.
also when you surround yourself.
You ain't lying.
That's another thing, peer mentoring.
I wasn't stopping till
Like, how do we do peer support with young people too, because young people can be advocates for one another.
It's who you surround yourself with, like, an example I think of is how I'm in the choir and afterwards everyone will go smoke, I'm like, y'all do realize you're singers and you're basically burning up your vocal folds, like, I'm not, like, it's very much, it's like a, you know what I mean, it's very much, it's like, and some of them did stop smoking when we saw someone who was like straight up, like one of the older people, not older, they're literally like 2 years older than me, but it's a choir that goes from 13 to 22. So, yeah, unfortunately, however, but they were like, you see how they like reach some of the high notes you've seen, and this is someone who has been in the choir since they were 13 and now they're 22.
Wow.
So there's old videos of them online singing, and they're like, you see how I was able to hit these notes before? No, that's from, now I can't, because that's from the vaping, that's from the smoking, the raspiness, but
We need to have them on the kind.
There are also people on the other end who show.
If they're open to share that.
There are also people on social media, at least they come up on my feed, that they show their journey with their substance abuse issues, and some are very transparent as to why they started, hardships, family issues, culture, whatever. And they show you, they document their entire journey from substance abuse to sobriety, and they're very transparent. This is what it did to my skin, my hair, my nails, you know, my relationships. So I get that social media can be fake, but that's not everyone's purpose, utilizing the platform. So I do think we should keep that into consideration, that it's good, the point you made about transparency, about people showing this is what that can happen. And I think if whoever we incorporate, they have to be ready to be transparent, not lie to anyone.
I think.
I'm sorry. Come on, who did you?
Well, the influencer I have in mind, like he's around a lot of people who do those things. Interestingly enough, he walked through the garden last week, and there was a conversation going on about smoking and how it's a non-smoking space. And he chimed in, he said, oh no, I don't do that anyway. And I thought to myself, oh, that's so interesting, considering the platform that he's on or that I've seen him, it's a common thing. But he said it, he's like, oh no, that's not my thing, I don't smoke and drink. So that kind of changed something in my mind. But it ties back to your point, you don't necessarily have to be around it and do it. And I think that should be the main takeaway with this platform, this panel discussion, that just because you're in these spaces with these individuals doesn't mean that you have to partake, you know? kind of rise above it. But at the same time, if you did, or if you do, it's not the end of your journey. Tying back to Rosa's point, that you can, that there is life after it.
Valerie, come on.
The smoke shops that exist in East Hall. Who approved all of these smoke shops?
They're illegal.
Call 311 for the illegal ones.
A lot of them are illegal, a lot of them don't have licenses, and that's something that we have. And speaking
Okay,
about,
well, I'm just saying, if you're
Yeah.
gonna have this discussion, you cannot leave that out.
yeah,
You have one on Madison and between 96, 97. And then on Park between 97th and 98th. And Hunter Elementary is right up the block.
yeah.
Two other private schools are right there. We've all been kids, we all know that you kids go and find it, do whatever they wanna do. So whatever. Now, I make one other point. When I was a kid, you could go to the store for your parents and get a bottle. You could buy the cigarettes. And there are more people that abuse it now than before. So I don't know if anybody's studying that.
Cigarette.
Anything. You could go to the store in 1959, 1961. You go to the store and get a bottle. Underage, way underage.
But now you can't. I mean,
I'm saying, no, the problem has, I don't think has anything to do with what's going on in the media, the peer pressure has always been there. But I don't understand if we're so against it, why did we approve all of these smoke shops?
I get what you're trying to say.
So no one approved them to do illegal stuff.
It's a smoke shop, they're not selling.
They're allowed, so here's, I'm glad we're going. So I'll engage the conversation, then I'll, give my perspective on that and this concept. So the stores are not illegal to open. The products that they're selling outside of the illegal marijuana aren't illegal. You can sell tobacco products, so the store has a legitimate license to be there. Now, when they decide to sell marijuana without a license, then it becomes an illegal smoke shop. And in that regard, I do think that there is value at the very least at the point in which this event is talking to young people. Well, the whole event is talking to everyone, but specifically when we get to the areas of, the young people, it may be of value to have someone there who can just give insight on how you report smoke shops that you see.
Right.
But one thing I do not want this event to turn into is that we'll be talking about, the businesses or being, that was one of the things we don't want to do. This event is really going to be around how do we create strategies as community, stakeholders, organizations to support people who do have addiction issues.
Right.
Now, there's overlap, so I'm not saying we shouldn't. That's why I said there is need for there to be information on how people should go about reporting them, especially, if they see young people frequent in this store. So this may be a store that sells to young people. Let's report that, because we don't want that. We're trying to prevent that, but I don't want it to turn into, before I go, we had a virtual hand up. I want to.
Antonika.
Oh, hey, Antonika, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, this has been great. I just wanted to say, I guess for the purposes of what Housing Works does, we're definitely open to speaking about destigmatizing behavioral health conditions and sort of meeting people where they are. That is essentially what we do. And we're always in the space of not judging folks for the decisions that they're making, but giving them the information that they need to make informed decisions about their own health and well-being. And so a lot of what we're doing focuses on that. And so we're happy to also speak about the innovative ways that we are trying to make those connections to the community. I did ask my youth and prevention services team if they wanted to also attend. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them, as well as the harm reduction team. You know, in light of what everyone was just talking about in regards to young people and the influence that comes with that, as well as conformity, right? It's not always just peer pressure. Sometimes all it takes is one popular person to say that they're doing this, and now everyone feels like they have to conform to that. And so, and that happens to adults as well. So I think that there's a lot for us to address when it comes to those particular subjects. But like I said, we're here to be able to speak on that, and happy to be utilized where needed. But I think definitely destigmatizing even the language that's used, the way that people approach their family members, people that they know who are who have substance use disorder, as opposed to saying someone's a drug abuser. It's like, I mean, even just that language, we're trying to curtail, because we want people to realize that we're not here to judge them. We understand that this is a disorder, it's a condition, and that we want to support them as best as we can. And so incorporating that language to help facilitate those conversations is definitely helpful and needed. And that pretty much was it. But thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I had told Marlene on Friday that I wanted you to be a panelist for one of the discussions. So thank you so much for volunteering.
No problem.
What's up?
All right, I got a couple comments and also stuff that I think we should think about. Number one, once again, I am 20, so I obviously cannot legally partake in any of these activities, and I don't. And I'm gonna be straight up, because Isaac knows I'm a very straight up person. Even though I don't partake in any of these activities, to say, oh yeah, you can't do it, just like back in earlier times, blah, 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 blah. I know about 10 places I can find stuff right now. And even if I don't partake in any of that, it very much is a thing. Regardless if it's not as, and maybe it's a little bit more dangerous because it's not as open, to be completely honest. That's number one. Number two, I think we should have a mental health professional there, because stemming from a lot of the reasons, I can only speak for communities that I interact with, but specifically, like, I interact a lot with like the queer young people community, and there's a sense of rejection there and stuff, and they feel a lot of times what I hear the most common reasons for substance use and stuff like that is, oh, when we're all doing this together, there's a couple of things there. Oh, when we're all doing this together, it's a community thing, like it's like a family thing. We're all very close to each other because of the concept of, I'm not sure if y'all have heard the term chosen family, is when a lot of people are rejected from their families, their community ends up being their family. So that's a very much a thing where we're all, whereas everyone around each other, that type of thing. It's also a sense of feeling like they're not good enough. It's a type thing. It's something that I've heard a lot. Feeling like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna, because a very common thing I have heard from unfortunately younger people in my choir is, oh, I'm not gonna live that long anyway. So it's very much a, it's like we gotta get into the mental health aspect of it, because we could give them all of the future stuff that can happen, but some people really, they just do it because it's like, whatever type thing. So yeah, that's something that I think we need to consider, very much like mental health, and some people feel like, well, if I stop, then I'm gonna lose like all my friends, because we're all not gonna stop together, blah, 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 and that's like their family, because it, even like a lot of people in my choir, they're like 14, 15 and they're homeless and they live together. It's very much a thing, so yeah.
So thank you, Ash, because you're hitting home too.
Yeah.
Come to Housing Works. We have support for that, and by all means, even like come join some of the groups that they have. They have youth groups there. You can let people know. They have a clubhouse in Brooklyn as well. There are a lot of resources for the community, everything that you just mentioned. So by all means, please utilize us.
Thank you.
And we definitely want to have someone speak on that as well.
Cool. So this is also to everyone, you know, this is also making me think that part of this discussion, especially around youth, is also geared towards parents supporting children and not judging them. Because this, you know, this is very true, what you just said, because I'm working with a lot of young people who are estranged from their parents and they live in the same house with them. You know, and I think there's a huge disconnect there that, you know, parents sometimes it's just so busy and, you know, just not paying attention, don't know how to give the right attention to children. So I think, you know, one of the areas I'm going to be looking at youth development is through supporting families in my own personal work. So when I heard you say that, it makes me think that some of this should also, like, some of the questions that may be asked during that panel should also be, well, how can parents support, or what should a parent do when they're.
But I think also acknowledging that some people don't necessarily have contact with their family.
Yes.
And they do a lot of these activities to numb that type of pain. So maybe that's like, maybe find like a productive way to like I said, like the mental health is a very much like aspect of it. Like sometimes they need a little bit of hope. I'm gonna be straight up. Cause yeah, that's something that I have discussed within my choir with a lot, cause like you said, I'm one of the older people in the choir, so it's like older brother type, younger sibling mentality, so it very much is like a productive way to like. Cause also that could be a little bit triggering if it's like, how can parents support, and if someone's saying that they don't have a parent. Whether it's by choice that they left. Cause people don't realize kids not talking to their parents isn't necessarily they got kicked out sometimes, it's they had to leave. So yeah, I think it's also, yeah.
Thank you. Please.
I think another thing is how children are being exposed to alcohol and drugs and all this literally at home. And it's not so much about, you know, being legal to do drugs, but don't do drugs even if you're legal, you know what I mean? It's like educating the children to prevent them from, you know, doing the wrong things, right? Like, for example, like marijuana should be used to like support people with cancer, you know, that are really, really, really hurting. You know what I mean? Like, that's like an unbelievable pain that I cannot even describe because it wasn't me. But it's like educating young children, like focusing on all the information that is out there for the children, because like we educating ourselves and everything, but how does it go to the children that may not have a parent? That may be in a foster home, that go from one home to another every other month.
Or it's like, or they hang out in the street with like, cause that's their family. That's their family, like the togetherness of like hanging out, like I know people who are out like all times of the night, all together. Younger people who are all out together because it's a safety thing. And sometimes that's just how it is.
Reality.
Yeah.
One second.
So, one thing that I know, and I'm in no way, shape, or form professional, but from my knowledge of addiction, is that once you get rid of one, you kind of have to replace it with something else, right? So we need to, pardon?
Sometimes.
Well,
I'm
something.
a former addicted
Okay.
drug addict, and I did not replace it with anything.
Okay, well, that's,
So that's
that's what I said, I wasn't sure, I think I'm not a professional based on what I've
We can't make
learned.
that assumption because
Okay.
people who quit, but they quit and that is it.
Okay, thank you for that. What I wanted to say was that providing them with positive options. So, cause I hear a lot of there's nothing to do, or there's community, it's a community thing, or it's a mental health thing, and all of that sounds like there's a need for something, right? So maybe replacing the drug with something else, if it's a hobby, if it's a trade or something, and how do we present that to the youth on a panel? I wasn't necessarily saying that they were going to replace it with another drug, or replace it with something else.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, to be preoccupied, but the reason why some people get into the addiction to begin with is because of the lack of what they didn't get to begin with, so.
Okay,
It's not a replacement, it's just being in a space of receptiveness and acknowledgement and encouragement,
okay,
which. I mean, I became a drug addict when I was an adult, I was fully productive and graduated college, and it's like on top of the world, and then decided one day, I'm gonna just try this.
right.
So sometimes people just do it out of curiosity, me, I wasn't downtrodden, I had a job and was living the highlights.
Okay,
So we have to take that under consideration too, everybody
Thank
that's
you for
drugs
sharing.
not done done.
thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that, truly, thank you for being transparent.
So Marcel, to that point, thank you guys. To that point, alternative approaches was something that would be a part of both panels, because that was what I was thinking too, like we should, because there's also like, I don't know if you all know, like, there was even like conversations back in the day. Well, I don't know, okay, so some historical, information about the community, people like the young lords and stuff, they would work with people who were dealing with opioid in different ways, they would be like acupuncture. Right? So there's gonna be someone there, who's going to talk about that and give information about things, or approaches that we're taking that were not methadone, that was not what we have now, so alternative approaches will be a part of this discourse, and what else is available,
Right,
you know?
and if you could maybe, the people that'll be there from the hospitals, I don't know, help have them, provide tools on how to advocate. I'll tell you, I've had hospital visits, ER visits for pain, and the first thing they mentioned to me is an opioid, and I'm like, no,
Exactly.
please,
No, that was me also.
please.
Yeah.
Like all the time, to the point where I'm Googling what are alternatives, and I'm asking, what are you going to give? Please don't give me that. I know my pain is bad, but I don't want that.
They also give it to you sometimes when you're asleep, because I didn't know that they gave me an opioid until I woke up and I heard them talking over my nose.
Right,
That they gave me like fentanyl or something. I was like, so okay.
so how, right, so maybe just teaching how to advocate for yourself. It just so happens that I'm vocal, and when it comes to pain, I'm not afraid to say, no, don't give me that, I will walk out, but that's me.
To that
You know?
point, like when I had my foot surgery about 1.5 years ago, they gave me Percocet.
Right.
And
See,
I went back and I was like, yeah, this is crazy. And then
Right.
right after I finished the sentence, would you like us to refill your
yes,
prescription?
yes, and they call you.
I said, hell no, I don't want none of this.
Very
I don't like
addicting,
this
this
pain.
thing. I was on the same medication.
Yes.
So I understand that, and
Yes.
so I think that could also be a part of the discourse, why is there only one, solution to this? Because they exist, I think we just need to, talk about them, identify them, bring them into the space and see, because there are folks in our community who, looking to do different things, and that's why I've seen a lot of people even to the point of blood, I've seen a lot of people transition off of medication to be able to use marijuana because it's a little bit more natural and they don't have a lot of side effects from using the medicines. So these are some things that medical transitions that you see.
There are options, there are different options to kind of, overcome substance issues, and I don't think that all of them are always covered.
Yes. Alita, did your hand pop up at some point?
You have a
It
hand
did.
from Shannon,
What happened?
just letting you know, you have a hand from
So
Shannon.
let's hear from her.
Okay, so we go from Shannon, do you want to make your comment, Alita?
No.
Shannon, go for it.
She's muted.
Shannon, you're
Oh,
muted.
oh, sorry. No, I wasn't talking. I just wasn't sure who was gonna speak yet. I have one comment and then a follow-up question. My comment is more so because CCHP, we also have a large behavioral health and substance use treatment program at our facility. I over, during the conversation, you guys were talking about like the mental health aspect. And we also have peers on site as well. I know in the email, Isaac, you were saying about having Jose probably come by and potentially talking. So I am going to talk to Michelle to see like who else we can bring by to, be a part of the conversation. Because, Jose, he is currently at Safe Horizon every Wednesday, and that has a large youth population who is housing insecure, but also suffers from substance use disorder. So it's like he will be a really good person to be a part of this. And like
We flag him for a panelist, Shannon. When you reach back, can you flag him for a panelist for the youth one?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
And then my question is, the people who can participate in tabling, is that only for organizations within the Harlem area?
No, but why, who did you have in mind?
Well, because also talking about the youth and adolescent aspect, I can give you the information to someone that I know at the door, because I know that having the conversation about like other resources for young people if they are suffering from substance use disorder, like what else they can do, like, and they help with like legal help, they help with like continuing education or getting their GED or other programs for adolescents from ages from 12 to 24 years old. So I can definitely pass you off the information to see if they're willing to table.
Yeah, the door, yes.
Yeah. So
what about HMI? Do you know them as well?
I'll have to reach out to Michelle because I know she is in contact with HMI. So I'll let you know.
Cool, thank you. That sounds good. Alita, did you?
Yes, my comment was, it was just about the fact that we all agree that we need resources. And I don't believe that there is something specific that, like you said, sometimes there's not enough resources. But I just wanted to be mindful, like what might work for one person might not work for the other person. Especially when we're talking about like generational, groups and stuff like that. And let's also keep in mind that, we are talking about it, it's so open, but not everybody is comfortable talking about that right now. A high percentage of my clients use substance abuse as a coping mechanism because they are survivors. I'm a survivor myself. And this is something that, I use as a coping mechanism too. So there is a lot of stigma, there's a lot of fear, it's still uncomfortable. So let's just be mindful of like when she said, like she tried because it was just, she was curious. I did because that was the only thing to keep my mind sane, not to go crazy. So I don't know, like, what would be the other person? So let's just think about like people might be coming from different backgrounds. So that's why it will be different type of solution for each one. So, and bringing all these different perspectives, that's key. You talked about planting a seed. That's what we're going to do. We're going to plant seed.
Yeah, and we're gonna make sure that we state that, that we'll make sure that that's anchored throughout, that we understand that everything doesn't work for everyone, and we encourage people to find, what works in this, and even if you're working with someone to try different things. Don't just try one thing and think it's supposed to work. If you're working with someone, try different things. Ash, go ahead, and I'll take like one more and then we can like wrap this up now.
Or I'm talking about this a lot more than I usually do, but I do go to the LGBT center downtown and I go to their youth space. And I think often a lot of times, specifically within this community, our LGBT youth do get left out of a lot of stuff. And I think just because, and this is just based on research, I took like a psychology of human sexuality class last year. That like LGBTQ youth are some of the most like at risk for these problems and substance use disorders. So I think it is important to include them in this conversation, and there isn't that many. We have to acknowledge when when we, like, I'm all for highlighting community-based organizations, was specifically within East Harlem. But we have to acknowledge that specifically that group, there isn't that much within East Harlem to help them. And we need to remember to remind kids that we have this whole city. I have my own opinions about the fact that there's not much here for that, the fact that people have to go to 14th Street half the time to get help. But I think that we should, I could contact like one of the advisors at and they do a lot of, substance use counseling at the LGBT center, free for any kid to come in and do it. And there's a lot of like, that's like going back to like productive ways. It's like go to a group after school. They give you Metro cards, like you can't get there, we'll give you Metro cards, there's food there. There's a lot of stuff they've given out clothes to people before. So I think it's very important to highlight that group because it very much does get neglected within our community and stuff like that, so yeah.
So Ash, thank you for saying that, so we're gonna, I'm gonna look to you to get them.
Yeah. No, I got you, yeah, but I think it very much does get neglected. And even kids who are necessarily not out yet, because there is a lot of people within East Harlem, that's like what I'm gonna be doing my like thesis on for my major, like the LGBT community within East Harlem and how it has gotten suppressed and stuff like that. I think it needs to be highlighted a little bit more, and they will go under the radar because they're not necessarily, yeah.
Absolutely.
Unsafe.
Okay, Mark, have we tapped any resources within schools? And we're talking about,
That's what we have, yes, that's what we talked about in the beginning with young.
Okay,
Yeah, we're talking about the roles are here.
but did we, I mean,
Our superintendent.
not within specific schools within the neighborhood? Well, I'm saying, but
So
do
the
we have people
superintendent-
inside the school?
Well, I work for Children's Aid,
Right.
which is in PS 72, and we pick up kids from CPE1. We've had a relationship with 171. We've picked up kids from 171. So and we do have a prevention program, our POWER program. We also have our teen site, which is on 114th Street, which is very much prevention. Like I said, it's a prevention-based approach, but also it gives resources and like I'm like losing words today.
No, you're doing great.
Like the good, like the alternatives, good alternatives.
So is it most schools use outside agencies to?
Yeah,
support-
community-based
So
organizations.
they don't have their own staff who are working with kids who are dealing with these kinds of issues?
I do not work for the DOE, so I cannot necessarily comment on that.
Yeah,
But the
that's-
schools, but basically how it works is the schools tap into the community-based organization and I know Children's Day specifically, we're there during the day, we're going into classrooms and stuff like that. It's like the school like kind of, I guess,
Right,
subcontract.
that's what, yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
that's, all right.
I think from the last time the superintendent spoke, I think every school except for 2 or something has a community-based organization within District 4.
Yeah, sure.
I could double check the data on that. but
Okay,
yeah.
Robin, do you
Yes.
think, can we bring iTruths in this space for a second? Robin runs.
We can,
Great
here's,
program.
I'm an example of a nonprofit that runs a program at a local public school.
Yeah.
Which, thanks to Isaac having been a mentor there. The program interestingly is about pregnancy prevention. That's what the funder wants. But we get there a different way. It's all about making good choices, which is a large part of what you're talking about tonight. But actually, I have to say, I'm hanging on every word you're saying. And I've never heard you speak before, so thank you. But Isaac, what you're really talking about in terms of the theme of all of this is digging deeper together. That's really what you're talking about here. I don't know who you're actually attracting to come and participate besides the speakers, because I keep thinking about all those people that have come to this room when we've talked about the issues on 125th Street. People who live in that community who are so angry about drug use, drug abuse. I mean,
So there are.
that's part of the problem too.
Yeah, so the people I imagine coming to the event, our first community board members, so they can, you know, become more educated on the issue. We have a lot of community board members who are here representing the community and don't have any information about, you know, these conversations right here about
Yes.
substance abuse, so they're really just going on what they see. Regarding, sorry, so community board members, we definitely want residents, to come in, especially, I mean, if you coming in with a complaint, come in, I think the purpose of the event being shaped the way it is for you even to get more insight into why you may see what you see. So it's not just coming here saying, hey, this is how it is, y'all need to do something, that's why we're here to
About
figure out
opening your eyes
what
to the heart.
we're all gonna do, and that's the essence of the event, but it also should have those residents who have, you know, people in their household that may be going through that they're there just for them. Like, I just want to learn how I can help my brother out. You know, so at the very basic level, just whoever, everyone is connected to someone who's doing something. So if we can get, you know, so, but like I told Andrew yesterday, if we just got the community board in the room, there's 50 of us. That's enough for us to be really having real conversations with stakeholders and people going through to develop better strategies as a community board. Because the board was the reason that a lot of that stigma y'all talking about, this came right out of this board, especially with the documents, and I have to say I was a part of it, just being ignorant. That's why I tell y'all, watch what y'all just be voting yes for, you know, because we put out a document, a moratorium document that was really weaponized against people who has substance abuse issues.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So first thing I did when I came on, we had to fight against that, to first get edits, and then y'all never saw it again. We won't see it again. You know what I mean? And that was strategic because I saw the issue, how we were perpetuating that stigma, right? So,
Yes.
you know, basic level, if we could get community board members in, if we can get a few residents in, you know, everyone who comes in the room, if it was just organized as a deal, I think the type of event it is, because we're trying to develop strategies to better work in the community. I think whoever is a community stakeholder that comes will enhance the event. Yeah, I'm gonna take these last two comments and then I'm gonna close this out. Oh, so let me make a note on the timing. So I have no expectation personally of anyone staying from 10 to 4 p.m. I don't care if you don't. I want to encourage people to just come to some part of the event. It's a whole day. So if you come in the morning and you gotta go, that's fine. If you come in the evening.
And I know it's gonna be very hard.
Oh, because they have school.
Right.
Yeah, it's something that I asked another youth group. I did this with YYB. I said, because they do community service on a certain day, I said, can our community service be coming to this event? So what we can do is can we ask the school people that we, can this be a class trip, or could this be a project?
It's
something, you
Yeah,
know, to some
but
extent.
then we're really gonna have to like pound that in the next few weeks, cause I know specifically bringing kids on event to get them out of school. It's like, you gotta fill out a form, the principal gotta sign it, gotta get approved by the superintendent. So I think we really need to, I suggest reaching out to the CBOs themselves also, cause I know with Children's Aid, we've taken kids out of school to go on a trip before. It's just, it takes a lot of coordination, cause if we do that, we have to find a teacher, we have to find a teacher to go with them. Yeah, we have to get.
Yeah, we can have sometimes schools get out early on Friday.
Yeah, yeah.
That's charter school.
That's why I'm saying,
I'm gonna be
the
reaching out to
CBO.
New York City Public School.
So that's another branch to think about too.
And maybe also maybe making the youth part earlier in the day, because if it's, let's say the CBO can't take them, like the after school program can't take them, most schools want their kids to be back by 2 p.m. from the trip. So make sure like the youth part,
Yeah,
towards the
all the
earlier,
panels should be
yeah,
done.
earlier part of the
So
day.
the last
and
hour or two should only be like mingling kind of thing. just
And
like-
lunch.
Yeah, well, we're definitely gonna.
Yeah, because I'm saying, they will not get kids there if there's no food.
We're not gonna get nobody there. They gonna get that
The food, just in case to just get it out, like, the food is, going to be not catered. Paid by the East Harlem Community Partnership, and another, that we're trying to confirm, hopefully by the end of the week, to give us a larger amount of food, maybe rice and beans or something like that.
And they're trying to get breakfast and lunch.
And yeah.
Speaking my language.
You'll be eating. It's gonna be a fun day. Like, I'm trying to have a fun day, you know what I mean? You can't go, can't close the cafe one day, Chloe? I'm just playing on you.
You know, I think like that.
I can you push the time, can you push the time to finish a little bit later so we can just allow other people to come after, because like, I didn't realize it's a Friday. So, and now we're talking about students, the high school and stuff like that, but how about adults also in the community?
Right?
If we have something like until maybe 6.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you have a job like you guys' job, your job should be to come to that event that day. You know what I mean? Like.
Ladies' jobs were.
Do y'all understand what I'm saying? As an organizer, I'm hoping this is organized, this is a day where you say, I'm gonna take a field day to go.
But that's what we said, but that's CBOs, but now we talk about residents.
Oh, yeah, that's the, we gotta.
CBOs will be there, that's fine, we'll be
But you
there.
know, there
So we have-
are
yes.
events that take place throughout the year, and they provide templates that you can give your job, and they can see why it's it would actually benefit them to have one of their employees there representing the company.
Oh, yeah.
Can you help me with that, Martha?
I can send you an example of one, and then you
That's the
can,
help.
okay, cool.
Perfect. Good to go.
Okay, I need to.
Yeah, yeah.
So they can get it, so stop talking.
No, I stop talking.
So we can move along to the old business, which is the budget items. We'll, table that until next month.
Let's just allocate it to spend it.
Well, here's another thing, like, if we got food sponsored, we do have $500 to go to the event.
Right.
This could go towards an activity, we're not, this sounds weird, but we're not paying anyone.
Or maybe
Just because of the type of.
Swag bags, maybe
It
like
could-
little bags with like, I don't know, Narcan and hand sanitizer and CB11 stuff.
Yeah.
People like
Can we do
little
that, Marvin?
baggies.
Can we get
You
swag?
can see how much fun we have in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
out.
but then.
Go out.
So, yeah, so, I'm gonna talk to Andrew, so we can purchase new swag.
You want new stuff?
Yeah, more new swag.
A
Cause
t-shirt.
I don't
in
wanna
2
end up
weeks.
with that
What,
stuff,
11?
and then that's somehow it's like, well, y'all got that, so y'all don't need the money that y'all were gonna spend on it, you know? I know,
No, money is needed. I get what you're saying.
Man, I know how much.
You need something.
Alright, yeah, I'm stopped. Alright, so, any.
Is there another meeting that you're
Yes.
holding for them?
There is another meeting on Friday at 3 PM with organizers and you all, if you want to. Not really, because that time was what worked best for them. This was the time that I knew worked best for y'all. This time I knew worked best for all of y'all.
Oh, David's gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
is your
then-
Friday meeting virtual or? in
It is a
person?
virtual meeting. It is a virtual meeting, yeah. So people
And
can
I
do it, but it's not
I
gonna
love
be
this.
too much different from this one.
Okay.
Where they're just gonna be giving us feedback, we'll try to workshop the actual agenda out. These notes, I'm gonna synthesize and send back to people to give any additional notes, but I'm gonna use these notes to bring to the Friday's meeting, so we'll have pretty much the fullness of what the day will look like, but on Friday, we can knock out the times on the agenda, so we can then get the agenda out, so people can decide what part of the day they wanna come to if they can't make the whole day. To your question, I don't know how much longer we wanna make it. If I'm there at 10, I don't wanna be there past 4.
I'm gonna lie.
No, that's fine, now that she's giving us a template, now we can
I'm
invite.
looking for it. I'm looking for
We
it.
can invite the rest.
No, can we say
Magic, the magic ticket.
Exactly. I need to go to one thing.
Quickly.
Please excuse me, I need to work that day.
I'm familiar with CultureCon. They offer that when you purchase your ticket, they offer you the option to download this letter to provide to your employer. So that your employer could give you the day
Yeah.
off.
But we
Well,
do
but you
that,
have
but
to
it depends on the
attend.
field, you have to be. on the
Yes, it
field.
depends
We do
on
that
the
also
field.
when we have workshops.
It doesn't have to be in the field.
Yeah, we
Like
can have
I
that. too.
said with the schools, the easiest way, as someone who has brought kids on trips, even though I work for the CBO. If I have to bring them during the school day, the easiest thing is for it to be a little bit earlier, so like that's like the perfect time frame where if I need to get the kids out and I get them back. So that's very much, if you're gonna get a lot more school support if it's during that time.
So the goal was to have the panels, following the keynote, so it would be early hours.
Yeah. As long as it ends by like 1:30, cause we learned from the parks thing.
Yeah.
We learned from the parks thing that people started to trickle out at 1:30, cause especially from the farther schools in the district, yeah.
Thank you, thank you, everybody. Any last, before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
You sending the link for Friday, right?
Yes.
You sending the link in the notes?
Everybody's gonna get all of that, yep.
Okay.
The notes, everything for Friday.
I didn't have a question for you. I mean, I need to.
Meeting, all the meeting minutes and all that. So the meeting is, so roll call, can we do roll call? Before we adjourn, just to make sure everyone is accounted for, so we got board members.
Marcel Bonjima. Present. Rose Diaz. Present. Arnie's. Alfonso Hernandez. Present. Jennifer Myers, here for this meeting, Valerie Thompson. Present. Actor Rodriguez.
Present.
Ivan Scott.
Present.
Robin Fraser.
Present and leaving.
Anna Pino.
Yeah.
I'm here, my dear. Well then.
Thank you, Marlene.
So I don't know where to go far.